Obviously, big thing on current events. Be foolish not to at least mention the attempted assassination of, I guess, candidate Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. That's the big news. Right now it's July 18th, so it's been basically a little less than a week since that occurred, and it's all over the news. Thoughts?
Well, we came basically an inch away from who knows what would happen if that guy was actually successful. I mean, I'd assume the country would not be in a very good place right now if that guy actually actually succeeded in what he intended to do. So I guess we can be extremely grateful just on that end, no matter what your feelings are or your political leanings are in regards to Trump himself. Let's just be happy that that dude wasn't successful, and as a result, the country isn't on fire.
Yeah, so, a lot of my fellow coworkers on the sniper team, we established a thread pretty early, a group chat, and we were kind of discussing it as new information was coming in, and quickly realized it's almost like there's too much information coming in, because I think everybody's trying to be first with the new info, and there's a lot of, I think there's intentional misinformation, and I think there's a lot of unintentional misinformation, people just trying to be first, to the point where I'm almost hesitant to discuss it because it's just not known exactly what happened yet, and I'm it's only been a week. It is a very complicated investigation, a lot going on, a lot of witnesses, a lot of video, and a lot of unknowns. For example, I've heard the shooter bought a ladder that day and showed up with it. I've heard the shooter climbed up on a air conditioning unit and then climbed up on the roof from there. Both of those accounts seemed pretty reputable and pretty good information. Well, they can't both be true.
I heard the ladder was already there.
Yeah, there you go. So what? And who brought the ladder? Was it permanently affixed to the building? I don't know. I haven't seen pictures of it. I don't know. I heard that the actual Secret Service counter sniper who put down the shooter was at 488 yards. That seemed to be pretty confirmed. But then I've seen some video of it, and just based on how far away the other team was, I'm like, well, there's no way that's 488 yards. It looks more like maybe 200. So I don't know. I have no idea. I can tell you that I've worked with the Secret Service. I've worked about 6 presidential details on the SWAT side. I've worked with the Secret Service. I've worked with the counter snipers, with the CAT teams, and they're incredibly professional. I don't see that the fact that roof wasn't covered, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's a lot of misinformation by their higher ups trying to cover their ass for whatever reason. They're saying that that building was, a local SWAT team was in there. Well, the local police department's like, no, we're not. We were just handling traffic. I know that the Secret Service the counter snipers don't let every SWAT team play with them, so to speak. If they trust your department, they trust your SWAT team, they've worked with you before, and you're reputable, they will allow you to work counter sniper with them. Our department has that level of trust with them, and it's pretty cool. We appreciate it. So I've worked hand in hand with both the CAT team and the counter snipers on different operations, and they've always been absolutely professional. I just find it odd. If there was a guy up on a roof, they would have been discussing that. They'd have been like, hey, who's this guy up on this roof? Or if there wouldn't have been an option for us if we were in that building to go up on the roof or not. It would have been clear before the operation even started, hey, you're going to be on this roof. Here's the guys that are on the roof. Or, no, you're not going on the roof under any circumstances. You know what I mean? That would have been clearly defined in the mission brief. So I'm kind of, it's confusing to me.
Obviously, like you said, a lot of this information, a lot of it, who knows what's true and what's not. Lots and lots of conflicting stories and whatnot. When the sniper, whoever was the counter sniper, actually took the shot, there's video out there and people are criticizing one of the counter sniper teams that was, at least on video, looks like he was looking in the direction of the sniper, and a lot of people are like saying, well, why didn't he take the shot or whatever? And number one, we don't know if he was actually looking at that rooftop or at that snipe or at the assassin, during that video, right? He could be looking in a general direction, but on scope, he could be looking, 100 yards to his right or left, all that. But at the same time, kind of going to what you said there, I wonder, and let's just pretend, just for the sake of argument, that one of the counter sniper teams saw the shooter and failed to engage him prior to him actually taking shots. I wonder, going through my mind, were they trying to PID him and trying to figure out who was it? Was it another counter sniper team that's on their side, or was this an actual shooter who was going after Trump? Obviously, was this a PID issue? Right? If, again, we're assuming for the sake of this that they actually saw him get up there and hesitate to take a shot before he actually took shots on Trump. That kind of ran through my mind too. Was this a PID issue?
I don't know. I've heard people say that there are rules of engagement where they could not fire until there was a direct threat to the president, a direct shot fired. That's bullshit. I know for a fact that's bullshit. They don't have special rules of engagement. They have the same, rules for using deadly force as every police officer in the country. It's established under case law, under Graham versus Connor. It's the reasonable officer standard. Basically, does this person represent an imminent threat of serious bodily harm or death to me or others? Imminent and immediate are two different things. Imminent basically means, based on what I'm seeing here, is something more likely than not to happen. Mm-hmm. It's not a very difficult standard to reach given those circumstances. Got a guy on a roof with what looks like a rifle, given at a presidential event. You're more than good. That's reasonable. Send it. As far as those two that everybody can see, I've heard that their vision was obstructed by a tree. I think their vision was possibly also obstructed by the roof. It looked like there was a little bit of a pitch. Obviously, the slope in the roof is a thing of a lot of controversy because the lady in charge of the Secret Service says that they didn't put agents up there because of the slope of the roof, which of course is bullshit. Because the two guys are on a steeper slope, and that's just not true. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that I've been on lots of roofs with steeper pitches than that.
And the meme with the cow on a roof.
Yeah, coming out too. Come on. But I can apparently. Law enforcement identified the guy walking around with a rangefinder 3 hours earlier. They saw him again an hour before the shooting-ish. He was identified several minutes before. So I think they probably knew the area. I think those guys were looking in that area trying to see him. Lord knows I've been on Overwatch operations where I'm on the scope or on my binoculars or whatever, playing the game of what am I looking at? What the fuck is that? You do it all the time, especially through windows and stuff. And I'm like, where? What are you talking about? Where is it? And you're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And if he was obstructed by either a tree or a pitch in the roof, and I could see the pitch in the roof because you can see him crawling across the roof. He already did kind of a reconnaissance beforehand. Clearly, we know that. I'm sure he saw that sniper team sitting there, and I'm sure he thought to himself, "Man, I got to stay low and stay under the crest of this slope on this roof, so I don't get spotted by those snipers over there that could put a 300 Win Mag through my ass." So I think those guys were just trying to ID him, and another sniper team did ID him, obviously, eventually, and put him down. I know they hoisted one officer up there who kind of grabbed the edge of the roof and looked over, apparently, saw the suspect who turned and pointed the rifle at that officer. That officer dropped down. I can't blame him for that. It seems like the suspect at that time knew he was compromised. Hey, I got to get these shots off quick, and probably fortunately rushed them, and thus missed. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, he was always shooting indoors, so it must have been wind. It must have been wind that threw off the round." I'm like, 140 yards wind with a 223 is not really relevant.
And by the way, he came within an inch of literally taking his head off.
Yeah, so I'm like, right.
And all of that could have been was just a quick little snap of Trump's head, and that slight angle change saved his life. That could have very well been it.
Yeah, I've heard, and you gotta be careful when you're watching mainstream media because they don't know shit about guns and they like to pretend like they know things about guns. Like, well, an AR-15 it's more of a spray and pray weapon. It's not really a precision rifle. And I'm like, well, no, they're really goddamn precise if you buy the right one with the right barrel and an optic. Even without an optic,
Even the bad one.
they're incredibly precise. So I mean, but they're idiots. So once again, I almost feel bad even commenting on it. I can only say from my personal experience working with the Secret Service, somewhat limited, 6 operations-ish, incredibly professional and extremely thorough in their mission planning. So it just seems a lot of odd shit going on. I'm not one to get in conspiracy theories, especially this early, but I'm open to it, and I'm honestly leaning more towards conspiracy theory than not. It wouldn't be... I sincerely believe, as far as the feds are concerned, the old honey trap approach is all they have. That's like their go-to play for everything, whether they be arresting terrorists or whatever. Their go-to is the honey trap. We're going to convince this person to do a thing on our behalf, not knowing they're doing it on our behalf. And we'll poke a crazy person with a stick to do something crazy. Not saying that was the case here, but I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be either. I mean, to be honest, even with the limited information we have now, it quite honestly only falls down to one of two options. Either just sheer incompetence or conspiracy. Because it really can't go any other way. Like, why was that structure not secured and that rooftop not secured?
Absolutely.
Like, even people who have zero tactical knowledge and experience, certainly when it comes to presidential PSD, looks at this and goes, why was a rooftop that was, give or take, 100 yards away with a direct line of sight to the president not secured?
Right. And
it doesn't make any sense.
It's easy when you look at after the fact when it's empty. It's another thing when it's full of people. It's a little more dynamic, and just being real about it for people who haven't done those assignments. They are physically taxing. They're boring. It's hard to stay dialed in the entire time, especially when the weather is inclement, really hot, really cold. I guess it was really hot. If it's your job that you do every day, because Trump is always on the campaign trail, he does several of those a day sometimes, and these teams are constantly rotating with him, constantly doing these events, and honestly, there hadn't been an attempt on a president or former president since Reagan in 81, 82, something like that. So, I mean, statistically, they might not be, even though they're professionals, maybe not as switched on as they should be. I don't really want to even say that. I just know from personal experience, having been on rooftops for days and hours on end, you just get fatigued. Also, you're not looking at all the people in the crowd. You are, but you're not like, you're looking at them like through binoculars or whatever. That's kind of like, oh, I see a guy who might be a problem. You're going to call somebody in there. You're not really designed to respond to that person in the crowd. Those people have already been through some sort of, magnetometer, some sort of check for weapons. They're in a secured area. There was controlled access into that area. So you're not really worried about them. Your primary thing you're looking at is exposures, like that rooftop. That's like your go-to. Now, if a window's opened and somebody's deeper in that room moving around, is that going to be really hard to pick up? Oh, yeah. That's going to be hard to pick up. Somebody walking up with a ladder and a rifle, pretty easy to pick up. So,
and on top of that, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
The fact that we have videos of people literally calling this person out for quite a good amount of time, depending on which video you watch, before this guy ever took shots. I mean, there's a new video that came out where someone was literally recording him crawling up the roof into his, I guess you could call his final shooting position. Mm-hmm. And people were calling out. People were literally calling this guy out by name.
And I did see that. I heard one person call him out by name. I think that might have been a communication issues between different agencies is not uncommon. even agencies that are right next to each other, right, it can be difficult. Yet alone a federal agency with local. Usually, when what we do is you'll give them one of your radios, and you can have that communication there, or there'll be the units will be mixed. So I'll be on my channel for my department, and that person will be on their channel for their department or whatever they're using. So I'm kind of surprised that didn't get communicated faster. But they knew about this guy; they've been looking for him. They saw him just an hour before the shooting. Apparently, there was I've heard some people report as much as he was up there for 26 minutes up on that roof before he was. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So why didn't that information get relayed? They're saying the cops were only responsible for traffic. I could see that. Like I'll say this: there was a local SWAT team there. I could see that as well. Both. I've been involved with both kind of operations.
To me, like you went to the more complacency side of things, right? Maybe it was just complacency, but even if it was complacency, having a team on that rooftop, complacent or not, would have prevented this all from happening. And it wasn't like this was an urban environment. Like at first, when I saw this, I thought when I saw the assassination attempt, I thought, okay, urban environment. What window did this come out of? And then I saw the aerial footage, and I'm like, he's in the middle of a farm with the rooftops that are immediately adjacent to his stage. Then of course the rooftop where the shooter actually took the shots, and then he had some buildings and structures that were further away from like where the parking area was and all that. Again, it's just an obvious building. Why wasn't there a team there? And
where are your drones? Where's your drone coverage? I mean, that seems pretty basic. I know the team was smaller. There was another event going on, so a Jill Biden event in the same state, so this team got split. So there's that. But still, it just seemed odd. A lot of unanswered questions. Obviously, the guys, they were looking at the right direction when it happened. They knew something was going on. They had been advised to some degree, hey, there's a problem over here, because they were already looking at him. Why wasn't the president removed to a safe room? They have those. Why wasn't he moved to a safe location, even if for a short couple minutes while we work this out and then bring him back out, or, whatever. The actual personal detail, shit show.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get too deep in the water on DEI issues. I think there were clearly some poorly trained or untrained people who were maybe just tagging along. I know
we
that
need to speak about the video says it all.
Right. I know that the Secret Service, they let their primary thing they do is currency, right? They investigate basically fake currency. Yeah. So they let some of their agents, I know they get to rotate in some capacity with the security details. It's just so it's more fun. Just something to do that's different, and they rotate them in and out so they get that experience. So I do know that happens. I don't know if these are agents who are usually doing, currency investigations elsewhere, and they were just there for a few weeks. Who knows? But they appeared to be incompetent. And the people Trump has now in the days since is a decidedly different looking group that he has on his yeah, it's some big dudes. So, Trump's like what, 6'2", 6'4", something like that. He's a big dude. Yeah, I'm 5'8". I would not be on that security detail. I'm not tall enough. I can't cover the guy. I just can't. Common sense shit. So, yeah.
It's when you're, when the actual detail went in and basically body blocked him to escort him out, when you have some of your officers going, well, what do we do and where do we go? That's a serious problem. Like,
all this stuff should have been established beforehand.
It'd be like you making entry into a building going, okay, guys, what do we do?
Yeah. And it's, all that is established. That's not even on a Secret Service level. That's just basic site security stuff. Here is our hard room. Here's our transport to go. Here's the path we're going to take. Here's an alternate path. Whatever. All that stuff is established in fairly thorough briefings, especially at that level. There's a lot of briefing. It's, having been in those briefings, they're very thorough and very professional. They're it's all worked out beforehand. So for someone to be, not dialed in, and it would appear more concerned with looking cool than doing your job, I don't know. Disappointing.
It doesn't make the Secret Service look good. None of this makes it look good.
Well, there were clearly some
it's a
agents who
pretty
did
bad
their.
mark.
There were clearly agents who did their job well that day.
Yeah. Oh, of
I
course.
mean, one guy had a hell of a shot. So and some of the members in the immediate detail obviously did a great job. Covered the president, did their job. I mean, and my understanding is they knew the suspect was down relatively quick. I'm assuming the counter sniper who did take the shot said, "Hey, suspect's down," and because you could see there was kind of a conversation, and Trump was like, "Hold up, wait a minute." And then there's obviously the iconic picture of him pumping his fist, and saying "fight, fight, fight." Absolutely iconic. I'm sure they knew at that time, seconds later, hey, the shooter's down, because I'm pretty sure they'd have been like, no, we're going. Yeah. If they were still taking fire, if there was still any sort of question about it. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there were competent people there. The counter sniper obviously
Clearly
took the shot. The most of the security detail. But at the end of the day, no matter what, this is an abject mission failure for them.
Absolutely, and there's obviously a lid on it too. You're not going to hear the account of those individual officers there saying, "Hey, this was good, this was bad, this is the problem." And I imagine it's a command and control upper level issue. I imagine it was, "Hey, you've been given this shit sandwich to deal with half the staff that you should have, and you were told things were going to be one way, and you get there and now it's another, and now you're forced to adapt and try to deal with it and plug holes." I've been there, done that. I'm sure there was some of that going on. So, on one hand, I kind of feel for those guys, because I've been in those situations where you just don't have enough bodies to cover the event, and all of a sudden the event, it's bigger than it's supposed to be, and now we have more people showing up, and now there's no parking, and now we got people arriving on foot and in vehicles, and now we got the ADA, people showing up, the handicapped vehicles just pulling right up wherever the hell they want, and they're getting out, and they're wheeling around. I mean, it's a clusterfuck. It can be an absolute nightmare, especially with traffic. It can just be, you can plan the best event in the world, and then people just do what they want to do. And of course, none of these guys want to shoot somebody who's not really a threat. So, even though this guy obviously was, I don't know. It's a lot ongoing situation. Don't worry, the FBI is investigating it.
I'm sure whatever they come up will be the absolute truth.
No, I have no faith in them. I mean, seriously, and think about Trump, how he's got to feel. Like, these guys have been hitting me with all these horseshit investigations, all the Russia collusion bullshit, all that pushed by the FBI, and here, now you guys are going to investigate this assassination attempt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot
assuming it wasn't you who set this up, if you want to go to conspiracy route.
I think that's more of a CIA play, but
yeah,
whatever.
You're right, but
yeah, I think that's. I think we've beat that up enough. I'm sure there's more to come. I think maybe this conversation, if we look back on this conversation, like in 3 months when more is known and there's more, I would hope there would be a lot more information out there.